Hello, my name is Ryan Day. I'm partner and head of technology at Moore Kingston Smith. Today, discussing all things software. So sitting down with Simon Woodhams, software advisory manager at Moore Kingston Smith. So what changes have you seen over the last 12, 18 months? How has AI affected things?
There's lots coming and going, and it's changing all the time. As of this morning, there's something new compared to yesterday. So there's little bits and pieces coming in, and it's just how we use that the best way for our clients.
So, what are people talking about if AI is kind of not at the forefront of things?
We want to say probably 10, 15 years ago when Zero first came, there's quite a lot of people who went, oh, this is brand new, this is cloud, right? But there's actually still quite a lot of clients on legacy systems that are on servers or in the corner of the building. But as we're seeing, more people are going, actually, I mean, COVID was as bad as it was, it actually did force a lot of companies to move to cloud-based systems. And now we're starting to see more obvious AI coming into those platforms. Actually, quite a lot of them had AI already in it, but it wasn't called AI at the time. It was just called machine learning.
And I suppose, we always say that the thing to go wrong first is anything manual, Excel driven, et cetera, et cetera. But what legacy things are we working with clients to try and eradicate at the moment?
Lots of data cleansing. And I don't want, if you put rubbish in, you're still going to get rubbish out, right? And the AI might help you identify some of that going forward. But if you're starting from a point where all your data is dirty data, what the AI tool is going to do is learn from your dirty data and never advise that it's wrong. And you can just carry on regardless. So there's a lot of data cleansing going in. When we do new projects, we tend to avoid bringing over historical data unless it is really, really clean. Get things in the right order, and so we're almost starting from scratch.
And presumably some of these projects then can be quite time consuming and last months.
So on average our projects will last 3 to 4 months and potentially longer. So one that goes live next week, we actually started talking to them in April last year, and it's a long process they're a tech company, they're PE backed, so it's not a case of I come to you and go, here's the software, right? And they make a decision. There's all the different stages to go through to evaluate, is it right for us now? Not just for now, but is it right for us in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, as we grow more? And then it's a case of going through all the different demonstrations, making sure they get to that point.
And how do they evaluate that? For a lot of businesses, they don't know what's coming in the next 6 months, especially from a cash burn perspective. So how do we work with them to form that plan for 5 years down the line, especially from a software that as we're talking, things are being developed that we don't even know about?
So our first point of call is we'll go and scope out what they do at the moment and find holes or areas for improvement there, but also ask them, where do you see the picture? Where do you want to be? And the software we're going to give you, we know will constantly be updated all the time. We know there's backing behind it. So quite a lot of the software that we will put on our scoping reports will be well-backed software. It's not going to be something that's just appeared overnight.
Yeah, of course.
And some of those things, it'll be legacy names, but they're big and they've been around for 30 years, but they are in those areas. We do have some new software that fits certain areas, but always make sure, because I sit on quite a lot of the exec boards and advisory boards of these software companies, and we're not allowed to talk about these things, but we know what's coming down the line.
And I suppose without naming names, if you were talking to a traditional SaaS business that is focused on ARR, is there a product that's better than others at the moment?
I think in that space we're doing a lot more mid-market space. So the likes of NetSuite, Sage Intacct, SAP are always there, but obviously there's a big range in what they cover. We're doing a lot of work with iPlicit as well in that small mid-market space. So it's quite I think lots more people are focusing more on the mid-market space as an area of expansion. QuickBooks are moving into it, where they've actually ditched desktop altogether in the States and released this thing called Enterprise Suite, which we're waiting for in the UK. But then there's a full path, so you can almost start at the beginning with a QuickBooks basic license, but you're there for the whole life of your company.
And I suppose I'm an audit partner, as you know, and one of the things that we always ask at the planning stage is IT questionnaires, integration of software. How much does that come into the planning of things? Do you get asked that question a lot?
Quite a lot. Yeah, a lot of that integration. We've got a project this week that actually asks, can we have all of the security links for all of the apps that you've asked for? We want to do our own due diligence on them. Okay. Obviously, we've done those and it's passed ours, but does it pass? Our rules aren't the same as theirs. Yeah. And it depends what kind of company they are. They're FCA registered, so the one we're working with at the moment, one of the apps we use doesn't pass their tests. Fine. So we've got to go and find something else for them. But it's good. It's a collaborative thing and working together and everything. It's not like this is the plan, this is what's set in stone. Things change.
Yeah, of course. And I suppose, the conversation's focused a little bit on the accounting, package at the moment. But what other things are we implementing to try and automate processes? One of my frustrations at Moore Kingston Smith is expenses. It's a very manual, laborious process.
Yep. We do a lot of work on expenses, and it depends where. My opinion is, if you have more than 5 or 6 apps, you've probably got too many apps, and that's when you start moving into mid-market to have an all-in-one solution. Yeah. But we have a load of apps that do expenses, things like Dext or Moss. We see a lot of Moss Spend Desk in that mid-market. That gives you much more control. So you've got like the ones there, it's I go out and buy something and I want to capture that, plus ones where you as a business owner control what people spend, control what time I can spend. Those are the sort of things as you go. There's very basic expense systems all the way up to I want to know times they're going to be there, where they're going to be spending, what they can spend it on, and really lock down those cards and have approval processes. And there's quite a lot of the work we're doing around is approval processes. And
then I suppose a lot of our tech businesses, and certainly the fintech businesses, the high volume of transactions, payment processors, the likes of Stripe, etc. So how much are we working to also embed those products into?
A lot. Okay. If the business we're working with at the moment uses Stripe as their payment system for the back end, we've actually worked with their back end team to integrate that directly into the accounting software. Okay. So previously they would take their back end system was here, they'd export it and then they'd type a manual journal into their basic accounting system. We've actually worked with them and gone, we've built the accounting system. Here's your back end. These are the codes you need to post. This is the transaction type we want you to do. Here's your sandbox. Go away and test it.
And naturally, the budget constraints of these sort of things, naturally everyone wants the gold standard, but then someone else is going to say, well, your budget doesn't quite allow for that. How do you then work out what bits to cut out of the process?
We always start from if you could have utopia, what do you want? Yeah. And then we go, right, for you this is going to cost you, it could be anything, right? Some we've seen are 20,000, some are 5,000, all the way up to $250,000. Yeah. We did one for 174 entities, and that was nearly $500,000.
Wow!
But that was because they had 2,000 users or something like that. And then you start taking bits out. Do you need this now, or is this a phase 2?
And obviously, presumably, if there's 174 entities in that, is that cross-border as well?
Cross-border, it could be. Yeah. So our membership one that is a tech company as well, in effect, has 7 cross-border, 7 different VAT registrations.
You're advising on the software that then can advise on the VAT implications of all that as well.
They're doing all their VAT through that. Okay. They've obviously got things like e-invoicing coming as well for some of those European. So, it's getting them ready for those sort of things as well, making sure the technology is there to help them do that. And then the AI tools is layered over the top of that.
I suppose one of the big concerns from my client base and is certainly, they want to make sure that jobs are available and are not being removed by AI and automation. What would you say to those people that are concerned that, actually we're going to streamline the purchase ledger, actually, software is going to recognize all the invoices, post it all to the, the accounting package. What's the need for a purchase ledger clerk anymore? Do you think that's far-fetched? Do you think we'll get to that situation?
I don't think we'll get to that situation. Don't get me wrong, we've had AI doing purchase ledger transactions for 15 years. Longer, probably. We'll say my purchase ledger clerk can say, this invoice from these people, make sure it does this and split it this way. The AI isn't going to know that without that person telling it to do that. And, it's the building of that agentic, we call, that part of it.
And I suppose what differentiates our offering to say, going to directly to NetSuite, and NetSuite will then be able to help you guide you through the process?
Our unique selling point is, one, I used to be an accountant, so I know what the end result needs to be from an accountancy point of view, but also we don't have one software, we're software agnostic. Yeah. So someone can come to us and we'll go, here's all of your solutions. We think these will work for you, but there are some other things. And, we usually end up with like a 15, 20 page report that gives them all the information they need to go and make a executive decision.
Sure. And then I suppose we will then support them on that journey. Once it's embedded, we don't walk away.
It depends on certain things. So audit clients, we can help them so far, and then we give them we have trusted people that we work with. But otherwise, we do the project. We can then offer continued support, especially with that go live period. We offer a standard 6 weeks after go live. But then after that, there's always support for, some we've been supporting for 2-3 years. Teams change.
Yeah, of course. And I suppose if I said to you in one key piece of advice, a business that's been with a legacy platform 5, 10, 15 years, it's never been updated, what should they do first?
Work out where you're spending most of your manual time.
Okay.
That's my point. Like, and then we can have start from there basically. What takes you the most amount of time?
And is that because month end or on a day-to-day basis?
Day-to-day basis, month end. Month end's a big one. Everyone says, we can get, our month end takes us 30 days. We can get it down to 10 or 2. But actually there's all the stuff before that.
And are we also advising on software to create board packs and things like that?
No, we look at the add-ons around those. Some of the more mid-market systems have the dashboards and you log in as a CFO or whoever. And because that's the big advantage of, app stacks, different levels, different user rights. And do I need to then go to a reporting tool? Potentially. If you've got different softwares for different entities around the world, there are software that only work in certain countries that you have to use. But then at the lower level, there's reporting tools. Xero own a company called Sift. There's Fathom. That all this data rails and all those sort of things, depending on what sort of information you need, how detailed you need it.
Yeah, a lot of my clients use Looker to process things. In recent weeks, I've heard a lot about AI agents. I don't really know. I'm not that familiar with that concept. Can you explain that in a bit of detail for us?
Yeah, of course. So the idea of an AI agent is it does a specific task. So rather than have AI over the whole of your platform, you have lots of different ones that can do certain things. So it might be you have a finance agent that looks at your profit and loss accounts and goes, okay, you've spent £200 on telephone for the last 6 months, but this month you spent 2,000. I'm going to flag that and go, I think you need to look at that. So that's the idea of a finance or an accounting agent.
It's akin to a bank. A lot of the banks over recent years have been flagging your spend.
Or go, this looks a bit odd. It's those sort of things coming into reporting before you get to the board.
Okay.
Which a human should be checking, but when you've got potentially a list of 150 codes, you might miss one. And it's just flagging it, say, is this right? Do you want to go and check it?
And how's that doing that? Is it just on monetary values or is it because volume of transactions? What's the
So at the moment it's looking at, most of the ones out there at the moment looking at monetary and spotting trends on your historical data. There's things like VAT agents as well now that will scour through your VAT return and go, hang on a minute, that supplier invoice that you've posted this month, previously you didn't code it like that. Do you want to go away and check that? And also I'm going to check it against what HMRC are saying. So the likes of Dexter bringing in things like AI agents to check on splits of VAT for lease cars.
Okay.
Oh, should you be claiming 100%? No. We've pulled this information. Does this apply to your business? We're going to start splitting that out for you.
And is this part of their core product? Or
this is part of the core product.
You're adding that as a bolt-on?
I think you get a certain number of credits because obviously with AI you have to pay per credit and things soon add up quite quickly for these companies. But there's that whole thing of the human building that rule going, I want you to do this on these codes. That's the thing. So there's things like that, and then also more around generating leads. And so there's customer agents, and they can say, well, you've not invoiced this person for a while. Should we reach out to them and here's some marketing? And we're going to help you build that marketing, which is even, with some of these companies, especially Intuit, who own QuickBooks, they own Credit Karma, they own MailChimp, they own Mint in the US as well. So it's not just a accounting software, it's more of a business suite, so to speak. And then they start going, right, you've not invoiced that person. Here's some idea. Here's what you've sold them before. Here's some marketing around those products. Here's your nice draft PDF. Do you want to send that to them?
I guess the question I have to close this out, Simon, is this all sounds really good. And, a lot of our clients will start off on Excel spreadsheets, move into an off-the-shelf package. When should they think about continuing this evolution? Because, you could sit here and say, well, it's going to do too much for my business. Do I need all of this? What's the kind of trigger point?
I'm hoping everyone's off of Excel spreadsheets by now, but I'm not.
I still have a client or two on it.
The one I've spoken to this week is on an Excel spreadsheet, and they're just making their first leap into software.
Okay.
But they've decided that they're going to go for the top off the shelf, not top base level off the shelf they can get, because they've got all this stuff they're doing manually, and that came out of the scope. The companies are quite good, and they don't put it into every level.
Okay.
So you can go to your base entry and get a certain percentage. Then as you go, right, I've grown out of that bit, I'm going to go to the next one. You get a bit more. And you don't get everything thrown at you straight away. Certain little agents or little bits of bit that come into each level as you go up. And that's the best way to start. Simple.
So again, it comes back to the planning, the strategy, and then customization.
Plan the strategy. If you go from Excel manual to software, that's a big jump in itself. Let alone one of our team then going, here's a load of AI stuff as well. And then you don't get buy-in. And it's all about taking those people that are on that journey, because there's nothing worse than a failed project because people haven't bought into it. We've seen projects we've saved projects from other people that have been going on for 3-4 years and they've never been live. And we're like, why? Oh, because we didn't
scope it
properly. We didn't get buy-in from the staff because they weren't trained properly, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what we're here to help with, basically.
Well, no, I think that was a very good conversation. I think there's lots of options out there, clearly. And thank you for listening, guys. If you need any advice on new software, then please reach out to Simon directly.